I would like to formally identify myself as a hedgehog.
Going with aggressive and evil intent.
Always goes to World War II.
French rebel against their own government like it's a seasonal holiday.
Pictures I've seen have just been him making out with other dudes.
I'm the authority here.
So much radiation. Who's going to notice if we just nuke the French? All right, welcome to the last three brain cells. I'm Lucas, your aerial swine, getting into dogfights with all the bitches, and I'm here with Jeremiah.
Yep.
Somehow I like that better.
I am sitting in the room, and I thought of a secondary name for you based on last week's episode.
Okay.
And the Seeker of Eel Genitals.
Seeker of Eel Genitals. I feel like that's just a little too long. I'm sure we can find a way to shore it down. I'll just have my brain working on that in the background.
Okay.
I don't think it's too long. I just think it's a little on the nose.
Oh, you know what? You've got a point there.
I hope my nose isn't on ill genitals, but like...
You're right. The name would seem that that's what you did want. Okay, but we got a third person here who we currently do not know their whereabouts. Who do we have on the other side of this microphone?
Where am I? When am I? Let's find out. Woo!
Who apparently does not have a name.
Oh yeah, it's
The mystery man.
your friendly neighborhood black guy.
Ooh, we've never said that he's
S-A,
black
2 M's
before.
and a Y.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I outed myself. God damn it! I could have gotten a tax break. God.
Well, so we got Sammy over there, and just to give you guys the full context, he is somewhere on a work trip, and he has not told us where he is, but he has promised to drop clues throughout the podcast.
Also, as far as you know, I may or may not be black.
It's an ongoing mystery. We don't see color here at the last three brain cells. The actual cells are incapable of telling the difference, so...
Yeah, it's made...
Yeah, we just see 50 shades of gray.
Well, it's definitely made looking at a rainbow or drawing it in a kindergarten class tough. And let me tell you, when you color a rainbow wrong, kindergartners will let you know. And some of them, they can whip a crayon pretty hard.
I feel like there's a bigger story behind this.
I'm having flashbacks, so I think we're going to have to move on.
Okay, we'll spare Jeremiah then. You know, it made me think, discussing the possibility of Sammy potentially being black, yet to be confirmed or denied. I did start to think of potential art for the podcast, and I was thinking, so I'm kind of established as a flying pig, I think. So I could have like a sword in my mouth or something like that. And Sammy, you go by on like Discord.
Wait. I would like to formally identify myself as a hedgehog.
Are you talking regular hedgehog or like African pygmy hedgehog?
I'm talking about a chinchilla with a spiny mohawk. Chinchhog.
Okay,
Hedgehilla? That's what I am.
That's definitely a pygmy hedgehog. Just as a former owner of hedgehogs, I'll have to say that.
I mean, you do know chinchillas, they can't get wet or they basically die.
Yeah, they take dirt baths.
Yeah, they get the wet tail thing and they just straight up die.
Well, it's a good thing that Sammy is not a chinchilla. He is a hedgehog, which specifically the African pygmy hedgehog, if you poke their little bellies when you put them in the water, sometimes they float.
That sounds adorable.
That sounds amazing. I do float.
Well, I was going to say, Sammy, you could be a black bear with just like tons of cocaine just like running down your face, but
he doesn't do cocaine.
We have other questions to address regarding bears and cocaine at the moment.
That's true. Okay, so that's what Sammy is, and I'm interested to see into the brain cell of Lucas. What does that leave for Jeremiah?
Yet to be determined. We know you're an acrobat. We had a whole part of the podcast talking about your origin story, kind of like a superhero origin story.
That's only part of that superhero origin story, too. There's so much more.
I mean, I hope it doesn't have the Batman start, because that would be sad.
No, both of my parents are alive and well. And unlike most people who are statistically my age, I still have 3 grandparents.
Oh, you can't be a superhero.
Aren't there superheroes that are like vampire related though? Like, couldn't it just be that like his family are vampires and so they never die?
All of those also have dead parents, so
Hey,
no.
Superman is well adjusted with living parents.
Adoptive parents.
Yeah, because his
He
actual
didn't know the
parents
difference.
are dead, right? I mean, his father is like a hologram. Is it like an AI? I'm not super well versed in Superman lore.
Look,
I know
You are
I know
not wrong.
The pink kryptonite is an interesting thing that happened. Have you
What is
heard
the
of the
pink
pink
kryptonite?
kryptonite? It was a dark age for Superman. It turns
It was
out
a dark age.
pink kryptonite makes him gay.
huh.
No,
I-
it doesn't just make him gay. It turns him into a woman as well.
Huh. I just,
Wait, the pictures I've seen have just been him making out with other dudes as a dude.
Oh, well, the picture I've seen also give him long hair, a more bustier bosom, and like long fingernails with nail polish included.
I'm just going to be totally real with you guys. Pink kryptonite sounds super lame. If I want my Superman to be able to make out with other men based on the writer and the world not think that's a disadvantage to him. The Greeks certainly wouldn't.
Not all kryptonite are disadvantaged because there's kryptonite that makes him stronger. So the fact that it makes him gay doesn't mean it's treated as a negative.
I mean, but in
Let's
the
just
context
chalk it
of
up to
in the context of it being kryptonite, it's kind of like Superman's kryptonite, his weakness. It goes together.
Jeremiah has a point. I think we should just chalk it up to it strikes him with some level of hormone imbalance.
That's fair. You know, speaking of Superman, there are so many Superman origins and there's so many comic book origins. But one of the best creators of DC lore has been Bruce Timm, the animator who made the 90s Batman series and the 90s Superman series. I think it was like 8 or 9 years ago now, he came out with a movie called something Gods, like the New Gods. Did either of you guys see this?
I'm
I
sorry.
know what I know the characters you're talking about, but I don't know what artwork you're talking about.
I'm just thinking of Gods Among Us, like the Injustice series.
You're right. It has a very similar name, and I'm not getting it at this moment. But what it does is it reimagines the characters of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. And like Batman is a super scientist who gets infected with vampirism. So, you know, that's interesting, I guess, in its way.
Oh,
It's
I saw a
in the
clip
movie.
of that recently. I need to dig that up.
So then there's Wonder Woman, who is actually Darkseid's daughter. And I should mention that all of these people like murder criminals. Like they don't even bother capturing them. They're just like, yeah, they're bad people. Like we don't care. But Superman's is
Get
really
murdered.
interesting because Superman doesn't land in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Instead, he lands somewhere either in New Mexico or Arizona and lands in a place where he's picked up by an immigrant family. So his whole life, he is pushed around by the law because he's by all means an American. I guess I should say illegal immigrants who've clearly crossed the border for some reason. And because he has always been on the opposite side of the law and kind of pushed around, you get this really to the point Superman who's like, yeah, I'm not even dealing with authority. Like, I'm the authority here. He laser beams people to death. He punches them to death. It's a wild ride. But the movie is worth the watch.
Interesting. I'm always down for an evil Superman story.
And he's not really evil. Like that's the
Anti-hero?
Yeah, a little bit more, like all of them are a little bit more anti-hero. And then the Superman story is really just following a line of logic. Like, yeah, what if he didn't have an upbringing where he was in the middle of Kansas, like an every boy American? He gets treated kindly for happening to be an alien race that lands as white.
The convenience.
I mean, given the time period he's supposed to land, he kind of hit the jackpot there.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of Superman being from Kansas, how's Kansas, guys?
It exists. I think so.
It's cold and rainy right now. We're in a season that, For those of you who like to follow dates and try to puzzle out when we record these things, a very large tornado has moved through a big part of Kansas right now, like a bigger city. So we'll let you super sleuths out there figure out where and when this exactly is, but a very large one hit not too long ago.
Big sad. I'm also in a place experiencing a lot of thunderstorms. You know, normally we are used to a high level of humidity and some good long rain, but it's starting to get annoying. I love it, but I'm flying back home tomorrow, and I would very much appreciate it if it didn't get in the way.
Based on what he said, I'm thinking that I have no idea where he's at.
Correct.
Knowing that it's... Oh, God.
Lucas is slowly dying as well. This has been ongoing since about a week ago.
Oh,
Don't
God.
die.
Oh, God. Sorry about that.
Apologize to yourself, because you're the one who's got to correct the audio.
Oh, no. Oh, God. That's when I'm
Get
really
wrecked.
gonna suffer.
Get
No,
wrecked.
but just knowing... Oh, God, it's happening again. Okay. I think I'm okay. Just knowing that Sammy's there for work gives me a guess that I think might be too close to the real thing for me to like throw that idea out there. So maybe once it's narrowed down a little bit more, I might throw it out there and see. But I feel like this is right now a game for you, Jeremiah. It's game time.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, Sammy, I don't know if this is going to lead into your next clue or possibly be fishing at all, but I hear that you've got a new interesting segment for us.
Oh, yes. Does not really lead into any clues at all, but I will say I'm in a state that has 2 vowels, and that may or may not include the potential vowel Y. We never really know about why. Why? We don't know why. Anyways.
I was just trying to think of if there are any states that rules out, and I think even Utah is still in.
Utah is in.
Alaska.
He didn't say it was cold.
You said at least 2 vowels, but you
With
didn't
the
say
exception being Y, because we don't know if Y fully counts as a vowel.
Oh, I
Because
guess
why?
that does take Alaska out, right? That's only A's.
Yep.
So it has at least 2 different vowels.
Yeah, ooh, this puzzle deepens.
My guess is still hasn't been ruled out yet. Sammy, isn't there some question that you are wanting to ask us?
I think you're jumping ahead a little bit.
Oh, am I?
We're on Sammy's
So-
new segment.
Yeah, I have a new segment for you guys. I used to love animals, guys. Like one of my first professional dreams as a kid was to become an animal biologist. I lived off of Animal Planet. Every time I would go to the library, I would go to the animal encyclopedia section and then just look at the pictures and absorb information. So animal biology and just animals in general will always have a soft spot in my heart.
Did they still have zoo books?
Depending on where you go, they still have zoo books. I definitely
Ooh.
binged most of the zoo books at my school library whenever I was still in school. But, in falling back to these old childhood loves, I found myself on YouTube and I saw a video that kind of concerned me, and having the engineering brains that we have, it made me think that this animal, if enhanced, could lead to an apocalypse that I would argue is worse than a zombie apocalypse. Now, for those of you who don't know, feel free to do the research, but the animal I am talking about is formally referred to as, let me make sure I get the proper name here, the crown of thorns starfish. Now, this starfish got its name because of how it's reminiscent to the thorny crown on Jesus Christ when he was nailed to the cross. And this thing's dangerous, all right? Not only is it venomous, but it's been an invasive species that has been destroying subaquatic environments, particularly coral-based environments, for a while. And the main reason why I think it would be terrifying is that, first off, starfish have an amazing healing factor. When it comes to a lot of modern sciences, a lot of the things that we have developed in terms of healing there's been research that have been linked to starfish and their regenerative abilities. So that being in mind, imagine these things were enhanced in a way that made them super fast, all right, and made them heal even faster than they normally do. Now, already when it comes to these starfish, you have to understand, when a starfish like this gets bisected or cut in any way, the individual arms can then grow to become their own individual starfishes. So this thing, which can have like up to 25 arms, if you just shotgun blasted it in the middle, you might have just created 25 new adversaries you have to fight.
So hold on a second. You said that, imagine if we made these super fast. Do starfish even move?
They do move. There was so part of what made this particular video so funny was that it was running away from its predator, which I believe was called the Great Triton, which is a snail. And so they made the music sound so epic as they were chasing each other. But in reality, I believe it was moving around 6 inches per minute. So they're slow. They are very slow.
That gives me an idea of a grim future, but before I throw that out there, I want to hear more about these starfish.
Yeah. So in this apocalyptic situation, they'd be fast. And, something like a starfish that has 25 legs, if it was super fast, it basically looked like a demented mutant spider crawling at you. Also, mind you, they have an eye at the end of each arm. So just imagine that crawling on the walls all creepy like with one arm trying to look around the corner. Like, that's just a starfish thing. They're creepy. Trying to see a starfish move in hyperspeed is just creepy to look at. Don't look it up. It's terrifying. Let me save you some pain there. But yeah, on top of being venomous and extraordinary regenerative capabilities, the way they eat things is also just kind of creepy. So they would kind of do some type of alien stuff where they kind of just suck the life out of you, suck your nutrients out of you, leave you a husk. And yeah, I'm getting creeped out just rethinking about this, honestly.
So they got the good suck. They got eyes on the end of their legs, which seems like that would be a downside because you could just like throw some ginger powder, I don't know, some pepper, and then they're blind.
Well, yes, but the way that their sensory organs, their quote-unquote eyes work are different. So it's not like our eyes where like we have eyelids, so we have to shield our eyes from incoming stuff. Their sensory organs give them kind of like the tongue on a reptile. It gives them kind of like a something closer to thermal vision. So something just like throwing paprika at it, it won't really dull or stop the sensory organ from doing its job. The best you could do is try to confuse the sensory organ by introducing a stimuli that gives it an inaccurate perception of the world around it.
I feel like my mind's just been blown.
But like, yeah, it definitely gave me Starro vibes. So
how big are these things?
So starfish in general can range in between like part of an inch, like half an inch, a quarter of an inch, which would, that'd be terrifying because it can be so small. They can like crawl into your orifices and all those things. But not necessarily this one, but some of the largest starfish have grown up to almost 4 feet wide in diameter. So if this thing decided to stand up on a few legs at that size and box, it could box, fam.
It's like a small child. But instead it's a starfish.
I mean, both are biological hazards.
But this is not the air to be saying.
I find it interesting that you're throwing out this terrifying creature, and then you just casually also throw out there that their natural predator is a snail of all things, which made me think, do you guys remember that meme from a while back where it's like, what if there was an immortal snail that couldn't die, and while it was alive, you were also alive, and it was just always hunting you, and if it touches you, you die, and it's like, what would you do? How would you survive until... Some people are like, it'd be at the end where only you and the snail were still there. I'm just imagining a world where that snail is the only thing capable of dealing with these monstrous starfish.
That is exactly the situation of these poor starfish. They will live forever as long as they don't get caught by this snail.
And technically, because of their regenerative abilities, they will live forever unless they are met with unsuitable living conditions or something that can destroy them in their entirety.
Hence a snail.
Granted, the best part, this snail that is one of their few, if not only natural predators, is something that we as human beings hunted to near endangered status because we like the way that their shells could be used to make buttons.
So you're saying the bun industry almost ended all human life?
In a potentially alternate universe, yes.
And that it's still a possibility if we get a perchance for buttons again.
Okay, here's what's going to happen. So Chernobyl is going to not just be a one-time thing. That radiation is going to, get into the ocean. It's going to, mess around with these starfish. It's going
hyper-accelerate them.
Yeah, it's going to Godzilla the bitch. And they're going to not only grow larger, but become capable of surviving on land and, intelligent. But it's also going to do the same thing for the snails. So we're going to become spectators in an epic showdown happening at just very slow speeds. Just the snails slowly creeping towards the starfish just wiggling with aggressive and evil intent.
So the scary thing about that, my good friend Lucas, is that their toxin is fairly potent. And the only reason the snail is one of its few natural predators is because it's developed a resistance to this toxin, to this poison. So if you grew it to such a size, assuming if the snail's resistant to poison scaled to size, that might be fine. If not, starfish are going to rule the world because they got the poison to beat all poisons simply by quantity and potency alone at that size.
I think for this subject, we have to this imaginary scenario, we need to just kind of assume that they're scaling about equally with increased size. So right now, they're contenders. Assuming if they were both big boys, they should still remain contenders.
Guys, I think there's one thing you've forgotten about in this scenario. A very important fact.
Yes.
A reason for why the starfish will win.
Okay, enlighten us.
The French exist.
It's over.
Sammy, you've been to France. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's over. It's over.
Okay, but let's say we as a species create an accord to protect the snails from the French.
That's the problem. It's going to result in World War III, so which will result in more radiation and more zombie starfish.
You're assuming the French have that type of power. I feel like if everything was at stake, we would be like, yo, China, yo, Russia, Putin, how you doing?
You've never seen the French when they really desire...
you really have not.
An edible delicacy.
The French rebel against their own government like it's a seasonal holiday. We couldn't get Russia and China to side with us. It's over.
With so much radiation, who's going to notice if we just nuke the French?
Look, man.
Probably the rest of continental Europe.
The point
Europe's overrated.
We're not talking about the French as a government entity. We're talking about the French. The ravenous people who are hungry for snail.
Yeah, kill them all. I mean, this is end of the world scenario. It's like, we need to protect these snails. They're our only hope against these starfish. I mean, I was about to take this even worse direction, but I think we just Hiroshima solve the problem.
Wow.
I was originally like, you could just put them, isolate them in a camp, and then I realized that's basically what Hitler did.
To get away from World War II, it always goes to World War II. Here's an interesting thought is maybe the French would actually develop great snail husbandry and be our saviors because of their desire to eat them.
Alternatively, maybe they would end up worshipping the snails as gods and form the most dangerous cult.
I don't think that would happen. I mean, we're talking about a culture where they force feed ducks corn.
Okay, but if not the French, there's a lot of different groups of people. I imagine that these seemingly magical saviors come back to save us. I feel like there's going to be cults. It's going to be a religion. There are going to be people saying these snails are the re-embodiment of Jesus Christ, come back to save us. There's going to be weird stuff.
I don't know, man.
Okay, so in this future scenario, we've talked about the Holocaust. We brought Jesus into it.
Well, here's a question. Is this the scenario where Junji Ito's Spiral becomes like the Bible? He is a horror comic artist from Japan. He's very well known for horror. He has an entire book that is about like spirals.
That's interesting because there's a YouTuber who does horror art, and he'll buy a lot of like children's coloring books and like make them into horror. And he's always doing that artist and theme inspired artwork. And I had no idea who this, apparently very famous, very well known and well regarded artist was.
You should actually go check him out. Have you heard of him, Sammy?
I have not. I'm not a horror fan, so I would not search for this.
Dude, I'm not generally a horror fan. His stuff is really good, though. I can't even spoil any of it, but a lot of it's really good. Also, he's a really cool dude. There's a bunch of memes going on for like maybe the last year comparing him and Hayao Miyazaki, where it'll be like a picture of Junji Ito like doing a bunch of really cool stuff and being happy, but then juxtaposed by his artwork being terrifying. And then there's Hayao Miyazaki's work, which is beautiful and gorgeous. And then it's a picture of him smoking a cigarette going like, life is not worth living, which is like a direct quote from him, by the way.
I feel like that's true to a certain extent, like more broadly. I feel like the people making children's shows probably want to kill themselves. But then you'll see interviews of people who make like the most disturbing horror stuff, and they're just delightful people.
I mean, even the darkest minds need an outlet, right?
Whoever made Teletubbies had some serious issues that I hope they went to a therapist for. That's all.
I hope so too.
Have you guys actually watched Teletubbies?
As a kid?
Yes.
It's like pleasant.
It was pleasant until it gave you nightmares.
I mean, all children's shows are kind of creepy. Like when you don't look at it with the innocence of a child, when it's not like force-fed to you during impressionable years.
I disagree, but I think that's moot point there.
Thomas the Train. You're telling me those faces aren't creepy?
Hella creepy.
They probably eat people for breakfast.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They gotta eat something. They have giant mouths. They're a train.
What else would those mouths be for?
The dark part of that is, this is super dark. You know that there's a lot of people who commit suicide by train every year, and I'm just thinking of Thomas the Train just going along like, oh hey buddy, you're my good friend, nice to, and it like whack, and he's just covered in blood, and then the next thing is him talking to the conductor, and it's like a therapy appointment. Which that's really bad. That's super bad, guys.
If that doesn't already exist, it should. I was just thinking, the trolley question, where it's like, do you pull the trolley if it's going to run over one person that versus like 3 or 5 people that are strangers. And I just imagine like the person pulls the trigger and the train, it's Thomas the Train, and he just slurps up your loved one and then backs up, goes down the other track and slurps up the other people.
Oh my.
Man, we've gone from a nightmare scenario about Starfish to how terrifying trains are.
Then there's a giant snail who's like going over the tracks, but because it's the snail, it's like he's coming in for the kill. And it's just this intense showdown as like people are trying to shove the snail faster, and there's French people with like pikes that are trying to like kill the snail.
I would take the snail over the soul-sucking train with the face.
There's just so much like bonjour like going around. It's like the people trying to save the snail, and then there's like bonjour, and they're just screaming.
I know you said pikes, but I think that they have pitchforks, because what is a pitchfork but an enlarged fork? It's a giant culinary instrument.
That is a good point. They could also just have giant salt shakers just spraying a bunch of salt on the snail, like, die.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless you're going to say fork, giant fork, halberd would be the historically accurate term, but I do believe salt would be a better weapon.
Oh, but here's a question. I mean, these snails, are they already aquatic snails that live in the ocean? I mean, like, do we have to figure out salinity?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, we're assuming that they're adapted to be able to survive land life in this scenario. So, I don't know. I'm not sure how vulnerable they would be to things like salty solutions. I mean, if the person's like trying to save the snail and they're not able to, and so they're crying, and then their salty tears fall onto the snail, and it's like turning into ash, kind of like a vampire out in the sun. We can add that to the mental picture.
Hey, by the way,
that would be a very Disney Pixar way to end the movie, with a random heroic ending.
This is for all the audio people. If you hear the sound of what sounds like a door being batted at, my cat likes to open up one of the doors in our house, and she like bats it open. So you may hear that, and you may hear her eking meows as she walks around and tries to get us to give her attention, which you'll definitely hear that.
If it's not too, I'll just find a way to just crank that audio so it's really loud.
Oh man. I'm depressed about the nightmare snail scenario. You started off to talk about the starfish, but now I think the snails are worse.
No, it has an uplifting ending. I mean, the Thomas the Train's a demon that we would have to put down. Potentially the French people too, but that's getting a bit dicey.
That's Frenchish.
Because they're trying to dice the snails, and but I believe in humanity's ability to adapt and overcome. I think we would eventually find a way to exist and survive as a species.
That makes one of us.
If not, we would just nuke everything, take everything out with us.
Well, on a more delightful note, a millipede that was newly discovered was named after Taylor Swift.
Is that because it's... millipedes are gross.
Yep, I don't know how she feels about getting a millipede named after her, but apparently the scientist that discovered her was a huge Taylor Swift fan and was like, I'm going to do this for Taylor Swift. And I feel like that's something that requires consent, but here we are.
I think he made that decision too quickly.
I agree.
Too swiftly, if you will.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
All right, what's next? I think we've discussed snails and starfish and Killer Thomas the Train for a while. I hope we have something happy on deck.
No, we
Happier
do not.
than a millipede named after Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I think you were too optimistic, because what's next is the question of the week.
Exciting.
As you guys know, at this point, which has not previously been established, but from henceforth is, we cover a ridiculous question every week and just get the last three brain cells' thoughts on it. So this week, we have, you are dropped in the woods, miles away from civilization. What are the three things that you carry on you? What do you bring, and how do you survive for, this is 3 months. I think we should do a year.
Oh, I was going to go easier. I feel like if you could survive 3 months, I guess you're throwing in things like seasonal, like winter would be